One of my favorite sneaker packs came out at a time of my life when I was still in school, so I had no money. Parents didn't really support my love for sneakers. Actually, they didn't support anything unrelated to education. Still love them, but it was the Toro Bravo, aka Raging Bull pack in 2009, which featured two insane, great looking Jordan 5s. As a huge Jordan 5 fan, that's my favorite shoe. I crave that pack. Now that pack was inspired by the running of the Bulls event that's held annually in Spain. Super famous. You've definitely seen footage of it. Google it if you haven't. It's crazy. And the rare Jordan 5 in that pack came back in 2021. Missed out on it, but this time they're taking that colorway that I really like, and applying it to another shoe. Air Jordan 6 Toro Bravo. Now this shoe is dropping on May 24th for $200. It got pushed a whole month up from June 24th. You can never trust Nike's release dates until the shoe is loaded on Nike.com or sneakers, which these are, so keep your eye out if you're interested. Now of course, as I mentioned, the predecessor of the shoe, the origin of the shoe, is the Jordan 5 Toro Bravo, aka Raging Bull, that came out in 2009 as part of that pack. And in 2013, there was also the Jordan 4 Raging Bull. That was a very sick shoe. I think they should bring that back soon. Now, of course, there's a new addition to that Raging Bull family. Now, the silhouette of the Jordan 6 overall, I've never been like the biggest Jordan 6 fan. I think it's a very clean shoe, but for me, if I wasn't wearing this to play ball in, casually, it's just too much of an athletic looking shoe. Unlike the Jordan 1s, the Jordan 3s, the Jordan 4s, even the Jordan 5s, even the Jordan 2s at this point. I feel like those just look better with casual clothing. The Jordan 6, and honestly Jordan 6 and above, they're just a bit too athletic looking to be wearing casually for me. However, it's a very clean shoe, and there's some cool little quirks on the Jordan 6 that people may not notice, and I'll have more to say on that later. But overall, I don't love it, but definitely don't dislike it. And the upper sole of the shoe, fully suede. And the suede on this shoe, I think it's okay. It's definitely not premium leather. It's a little rougher than I would like. It's not that hairy long suede, but there's something about it when I touch it. Just doesn't feel as good as some suede on other shoes like the Air Max 1 Ugly Ducklings. Compare the suede on that, so smooth, so soft. Now I think the suede on the Jordan 6 Georgetown, I mentioned that shoe because that's the only other Jordan 6 I currently have. I think the suede on that shoe is better. Not sure if you can see the difference, but the suede on the Georgetown is slightly longer. Just slightly feels more like suede. I can't put my finger on it, I can't really put it into words, but there's something about the suede on the Toro Bravo. It is nice, but it just feels kind of rough. And honestly, I would have hoped Jordan Brand came with much more premium suede for a shoe that is a complete suede upper sole. It really matters because it's such a staple of the shoe. So definitely a little bit disappointed there. However, the color of the shoe, I'm definitely a big fan. For some reason, I've always been a big fan of all red shoes or shades of red. I just love the way it looks. I know it's not the most wearable type of colorway, but there's something about it. Just love it. Now I don't have the Jordan 5 Raging Bulls that came out in 2021. Missed out on that, so I can't do a direct comparison between the two reds. I think the closest shoe currently that I have to this shoe is probably the Jordan 5 Dunk on Mars. And you can see this shoe, definitely more orange than red. And honestly, I probably prefer this colorway overall. So the Jordan 6 does have a polyurethane midsole, slightly more lightweight than a rubber midsole, also provides a bit better cushioning. This shoe does have a visible air unit in the heel, as well as an encapsulated air unit in the forefoot. So the cushioning is decent. Now fun fact, the Jordan 6 is actually the last Air Jordan shoe up until the Jordan 16s to use a visible air unit. And that reason is because at that time, Jordan Brand really wanted to distinguish itself from the rest of Nike. And the visible air unit, obviously originating from the Air Max 1s, that was such a Nike related feature on a shoe. Another thing that they got rid of after the Jordan 6 is the Nike Air branding. Again, for the same reason, they wanted to distinguish Jordan Brand from the rest of Nike. This shoe obviously doesn't have Nike Air branding, it's not an OG colorway. So the booty of the shoe has a Jumpman, but it does have air under it. But an OG colorways does have Nike Air on the booty. That's in the same red, so it blends in, stitched on the shoe. I kind of like how it looks. I like how it blends in. I like how they just went straight red for the shoe, for the majority of the upper sole anyway. Just really going 100% all in on this colorway. Now onto the rubber outsole of the Jordan 6. I really like the outsole of the Jordan 6. I like how it looks. But traction-wise, if you were still playing in a Jordan 6, it doesn't really hold up that well, especially on these icy translucent parts. On a dusty court, it just gets kind of slippery pretty quickly, so you really have to play on a very clean court to actually get the most out of this traction. But in terms of the pattern, in terms of how it looks, I love it. Now there's a few very unique things about the Jordan 6. Number one is probably the most obvious one, is this unique heel tab. That's rubberized heel tab on the booty. Now the Jordan 6 overall was inspired by Michael Jordan's love for German sports cars. So the heel tab was supposed to resemble the spoiler of a sports car. Personally, for me, I never really liked this heel tab. I think it just sticks out way too much. I don't love how it looks. It is pretty functional though. You can like pull your feet in, holding this heel tab pretty easily, but in a vacuum, aesthetically, I don't like how it looks. Another unique thing about this shoe, in the same material as the heel tab, is this rubberized tongue. You see these two holes that you can peek through, put your fingers through. Very unique look of a Jordan tongue. Obviously, it carries the Jordan lace lock that comes from the Jordan 5. You see this lace lock here. I always take these lace locks off. I just don't like how it looks. I don't like how it gets in the way. But the most subtle thing about this shoe is probably this little flap that comes off on the tongue. And that's so you can like easily tighten up your laces. I've never used it in my life. It's kind of an extra feature, but kind of cool. Now you see there's a lot of ventilation on the Jordan 6. So if you were still playing in the Jordan 6, might be a pretty good breathable shoe. See it all over the upper sole. And one thing to point out, so if you look carefully, you can make out 2 and 3. I think that's pretty cool. Now this shoe doesn't come with any extra laces. I do think black laces would probably be the only other color I would go for, but I kind of like how much they lean into the red and just leave the tongue and the heel tab and the inside of the shoe black. I'm fine with the red laces. Maybe if I was to get wild, I'd get like white laces. Maybe that'll make a pop, but if I had to choose, red laces it is. Now the box of the shoe, pretty standard Jordan Jumpman box, but it is red, so it matches the shoe, so I like that. Everything else, very standard Jordan box. Would have loved if they brought back that wooden crate box that they originally released the Jordan 5 Toro Bravo pack with, but that would have never happened. One can dream. Now moving on to size and comfort, I'm a size 9.5 true to size. I do have wide feet, and for us wide footers, Jordan 6 sizing, it's a tough one. So there's not a lot of padding in the Jordan 6. So lengthwise, widthwise, wide footers, you should be fine going true to size. However, because the way this shoe is constructed, because the way it looks, it does have like a more slender, narrow frame. So if you're a wide footer and you look down on your feet, which is the only view we can see our own shoes, it does look a little too wide. It spills over. It's not aesthetically very pleasing. It doesn't look that great. I can imagine if you have very wide feet and you wear Chuck Taylors. The way that shoe is constructed, even if it feels fine, even if lengthwise, widthwise, it feels good internally, the way it looks from a bird's eye view, it just is not great. It's the same problem with the Jordan 7s. So for Jordan 6s, because I have wide feet, I always go up half a size. However, that means having a more loose Jordan 6 shoe, which I don't really love. I do like snug shoes a bit more. But in order to just avoid looking down and just being grossed out by myself, I go up half a size for Jordan 6. Now, I'm not trying to wide feet shame anyone. I myself am wide footer. It's just the reality of the situation. So depending on what you prioritize or weigh more heavily, comfort, snugness, tightness of the shoe. So if you're wide footer and you prioritize those things more than how it looks, definitely stay true to size. But if you just can't stand a very wide looking spillover shoe from a bird's eye view, I would recommend going up half a size. Unfortunately, there's no perfect solution here for us wide footers. It's kind of an Owen situation. Comfort and fit, how it looks. I'm just shallow. I chose this, how it looks. Shame on me. Now that brings the total sole score of the Air Jordan 6 Toro Bravo to 15 out of 25. One of the lowest scoring shoes I've ever reviewed. And I think there's just a few things that doesn't do this shoe any favors. Now colorway wise, I do really like red shoes, especially this shade of red, so no problems there. However, the material on the shoe, even though it's okay, pretty nice suede, for a shoe that features suede so heavily, I really wanted like the most smooth, soft, premium suede. At least the suede that I feel on the Air Max 1 Ugly Ducklings. It just doesn't give me that feel. Comfort wise, as a wide footer, like I said, no perfect solution for us. There's not a lot of padding in the shoe. The ankle collar is fine, but the tongue, it's literally just very thin rubberized tongue with a bit of material and textile behind it. Other than that, inside the shoe, not a ton of padding. Cushioning wise, I think it's very decent. 2 Nike Air units, not the best, definitely not the worst. Now versatility wise, like I said, the Jordan 6, in my opinion, it's just not the most versatile silhouette. I think it's clean, but it's a very athletic looking shoe. For someone like me, who I definitely don't consider myself some type of fashionista or some great dresser, I prefer to go with simple outfits. And the Jordan 6 silhouette, I don't know. Every way I look at it, especially with this heel tab, I just feel like I'm wearing very basketball-centric shoes if I wear it with casual clothing. And the colorway, even though I do like the red, I gotta admit, it's not the most versatile shoe. It's very, very loud, definitely catches people's attention, and it's just out there. Storytelling wise, there's not much there. It's just another colorway applied to the Jordan 6. At least they give us a slightly different box, so I'll give them a point for that. I don't know what it is with red or reddish shoes. I just really love them. The Jordan 6 is not even one of my favorite silhouettes, but I just couldn't pass up on it. And as someone that missed out on the Jordan 5 Toro Bravo, both in 2009 as well as 2021, even though it's not the Jordan 5, I do find solace that I finally have a Toro Bravo, aka Raging Bull colorway, in my collection. That's it. Thanks for watching Sole Inclined. Like, subscribe, comment, all the good stuff. Let me know what you think of the Air Jordan 6 Toro Bravo. And remember, tomorrow may never come, so wear your shoes.